Hello everyone, this is POW. In this update, we've got a growing storm system that's going to bring large hail, damaging winds, and a tornado threat, along with an intense heat wave. But we got a pretty strong cold front on the way that's going to drop a snowstorm, but a refreshing cool down for many. Good morning, everyone. This is your Thursday, May the 19th update. I am feeling a little under the weather. A little congested this morning, so please bear with me throughout this update. But let's delve into the details. We'll walk you through the next kind of 5 to 7 days because there's a lot of active weather happening. Let's take a look at these overall pieces of energy that we're going to be highlighting over the next several days. We've got one coming out here towards the Baja of California. That's going to be swinging across, bringing some rain into Texas. But we also have this little MCS this morning across portions of Oklahoma, getting into portions of Arkansas. That's going to pinwheel across parts of the Mississippi Valley and then eventually head towards the Carolinas with some stronger storms later on this afternoon. But we also have this other piece of energy up here that's actually going to be pinwheeling across the upper Midwest. That's going to be our most significant threat, where they do have an enhanced risk for severe weather in place today. So as we kind of move the needle here, as we walk you through time, let's take a look at the setup. So we got these little pieces of energy that's coming out of the Baja towards Texas there. That's going to bring some strong to severe thunderstorms. That won't be until tomorrow. But today we've got that little MCS system over across parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley. That's going to pinwheel across and bring some stronger storms all the way through into the Carolinas. At the same time, our attention turns further to the north, into the upper Midwest, where we got a lot of lift in the atmosphere. We do have a pretty strong cap in place, but that is expected to erode in parts of Iowa into Minnesota later on this afternoon into the evening hours. But that's going to cause a lot of lift in the atmosphere and could bring some pretty significant storms up there. So in fact, the Storm Prediction Center has already highlighted an enhanced risk for some of those severe storms in a good chunk of Iowa today and parts of Minnesota here, as well as Wisconsin. Some of those could be really packing a punch later on this afternoon. Like I mentioned, they do have a fairly strong cap in place, but that is expected to erode in bits and pieces. So some of these areas could be more of a conditional risk, but where the cap does break, that's where we're going to have our more significant threat for that severe weather. Then we also have that that MCS system that's going to be moving across the Missouri Valley here through southern portions of Illinois, as well as southern portions of Indiana, all the way through Kentucky and head towards the Carolinas this afternoon with some strong storms. And these storms could be some pretty big hail producers. We got a lot of cold air behind the system with some cold air aloft. That's going to create these big time hail producers. Could be the main threat today out here in the portions where they do have an enhanced risk for those large hail, anywhere from golf ball or greater in this area, northern Iowa into southern Minnesota, as well as western portions of Wisconsin, and then just more of a kind of a 15% chance of some quarter size hail, potentially larger, some ping pong size hail, along with that MCS that's going to be moving across this afternoon. So here's your tornado threat. It did come down because of that cap in place. So some of the dynamics may not come together. So the Storm Prediction Center went ahead and decreased this from a 10% to a 5%, but definitely don't let your guard down up here into Iowa, into southern portions of Minnesota here, as well as western portions of Wisconsin. That's where they still have that enhanced risk for these stronger supercells. They're going to be coming across in the late evening into the overnight hours. And then down here towards the Missouri Valley, the atmosphere will be rotating as well. And you could be looking at some isolated tornado threat down here in portions of Missouri, as well as southern Illinois. But by tomorrow, that system will slowly pinwheel across, and the storm setup will be over portions of Illinois and now over portions of Michigan here into the daytime hours on your Friday, but also pinwheel further south ahead of the dry line here into parts of Texas, with that little disturbance that's going to be coming across. So we could be looking at some marginal to a slight risk for storms during the day on Friday. But let's take a look at the overall HRRR model for the next 48 hours and kind of show you where the storms will be over the next 2 days. So we're watching this little MCS system across portions of Kansas this morning, then getting into portions of Missouri here. We'll follow this one as this moves across. This is where they do have that slight risk for severe weather today, into portions heading off into southern Illinois, all the way through, and you can follow the time up above my head. Notice the other risk down here where they do have that enhanced risk. We have the little spin action further up into the north into Montana, and then pinwheeling across into portions of Minnesota, going back into southern South Dakota there. Notice not much is happening in Iowa here with this latest update from the HRRR. Like I mentioned, this is a conditional risk. If that cap does break, we could be looking at large supercell thunderstorms in portions of Iowa there, but this could be potentially transferring into more of an overnight threat into Minnesota. This will pinwheel across into portions of Wisconsin there, but then we have that the mesoscale convective system, and that'll be moving across about into the overnight hours on your Friday, heading through portions of Pennsylvania there. But notice down there in Florida, that's actually some tropical moisture down there in the Caribbean, and that's going to be lifting northward over the coming days. So we could be looking at some strong storms entering parts of Florida. That will pinwheel across into central Florida as we get during the daytime hours on your Friday afternoon. But as we move the needle, notice that blue showing up in Colorado. That is a snowstorm, where they do have winter storm watches in place right now for parts of the Colorado Rockies. I know Denver is expecting about 4 to 6 inches of snow. Up here in the higher elevations in ski country, man, 12 to 18 inches. We've got a pretty significant snow threat. I mean, it was 88 degrees in Denver yesterday, and now we're talking about snow on Friday. That's Denver, folks, for you. So we got a late season snowstorm out there in the Rockies with that pretty significant cold front that's going to be coming pinwheel across. Notice all those deeper blues. That's those heavier snows really intensifying into Friday night. But all that instability where they do have that marginal risk in place across the Missouri Valley through Illinois, where they could be a little bit more intense into the evening hours, going into the overnight hours on your Friday, going into the late evening hours on Saturday morning. But as we continue through your day on Sunday, there's that marginal risk, is that now we have that cold front will finally be on the move, but it's going to take its sweet time. So these areas could be impacted during that daytime heating hours. Could all the way fishtail all the way down south into the Dallas-Fort Worth area into central Texas. This could pinwheel across into Arkansas, getting into Missouri, back into Illinois, covering Indiana, all the way through the Ohio Valley here, and just the northern fringes of upstate New York, as well as portions of Maine there, and Vermont and New Hampshire. In fact, really, on the day on Sunday, as that instability will really coming across, we'll have a lot of heat to contend with before then. But yeah, that's a pretty rare slight risk for severe storms day 4, all the way up here into upstate New York, into Vermont and New Hampshire, and the northern parts of Maine there, where Caribou has been like 90 degrees as of late. So yeah, they've got plenty of fuel to fuel these storms. So let's take a look at the overall temperature anomalies, because man, we got a lot of intense heat. We got a pretty strong cold front on the way. So let's walk you through the next 7 days. So further to the south, all the heat's well to the south with that ridge of high pressure. But there's the move on Friday. You can actually see these deep purples showing up. That's a pretty significant drop in temperatures of those 20 to 25 degrees below average temperatures, but out ahead of it, man, we've got plenty of heat in Texas, plenty of heat across the southeast, and that'll swing all the way across into off the East Coast, all the way into the mid-Atlantic states and the Northeast, guys. I mean, we're talking 90s up there with some pretty significant heat wave that's going to be moving across. But there's that cold front on Friday going into Saturday into the Rocky Mountains there, with those deep purples of dropping temperatures significantly. Like I mentioned, you go almost 90 degrees there drop into freezing temperatures by the time you head into Friday, get into Saturday morning in the Rockies there. But there's that strong cold front finally on the move as we got those, 20 to 30 degrees below average temperatures on Saturday. Out ahead of it, we got those 20 to 30 degrees above average temperatures in the Northeast. So they're just going to be baking, waiting on that cold front. But much of Texas has been baking for the last 2 weeks. And finally Sunday, you get a refreshing cool down. I mean, it's supposed to hit 109 degrees today in Abilene, Texas. So by the time Sunday rolls around, after 2 weeks of straight 90s and even a lot of triple digits in Texas, even 5 to 10 degrees below average temperatures is just going to feel a welcome relief. It's just been a brutal May down here into parts of Texas. But there's that significant cold front. We'll finally pinwheel across and bring that significant cool down really for many. So we got a refreshing cool down on the way that could last actually a couple of days. It lasts at least a couple of days before the ridge starts to build back in out west and starts to bring back more of that heat back towards the middle, back towards the middle of next week. But hey, let's turn our attention to the tropics, because we do have that little disturbance down there, way down there south into Panama, down into Costa Rica. It is just more or less a tropical wave down here, kind of the Central American gyro region down here. But we do have some tropical, moisture going to be pinwheeling across. You can see it's actually raining pretty good this morning in Jamaica, going through the Cayman, the Grand Cayman Islands there, and then all the way through Cuba. But by Friday, we got that surge all the way through Florida, right? So there's that rain showers that I showed you going into Florida. A lot of this energy will actually pinwheel and move across on the Pacific side with all those deep purples. But we are going to have some energy going to be pulled up into the Gulf of Mexico. Not tropical, but just more tropical moisture going to be moving across and pinwheeled and kind of having that lift associated with it. So that could be getting further to the coast as we have more disturbances are going to be coming across during by the time we get into by that Monday timeframe in parts of Texas. With combined with some of this deep tropical moisture, we could be looking at some heavier rain starting to set up and actually moving into parts of Texas and parts of the Southeast, with some of this moisture going to be lifted all the way from the Caribbean and going to be over parts of the deep South and parts of the Southeast by then. But let's take a look at the overall setup on the surface map and kind of walk you through the next 7 days here. There's the setup with that MCS across the midsection of the country. You can see it pinwheeling across this morning. By the tomorrow, we have that deep snowstorm that's going to be coming across into the Rocky Mountains ahead of that cold front. We've got more instability that's going to be moving across the portions of the Ohio Valley on Saturday with that marginal risk and slight risk in place. But finally, that cold front is on the move. So out ahead of it, we could be looking at some pretty good rains. That's going to be portions of Texas coming across into the Southeast, all the way through portions of off the East Coast there. And there's that instability up here into portions of Maine with some of those stronger storms. But we'll just have multiple disturbances with that cold front kind of stalling around on Monday. So we could be looking at some pretty significant totals starting to add up in parts of Texas into Oklahoma with those much cooler conditions. We're talking 70s for highs, if not low 80s in a good chunk of Texas and Oklahoma. Down here with those rain showers going to be overhead. But all that instability combined with that deep tropical moisture from the south surging northward, we could be looking at some, with the combination of these cold fronts coming across and a good chunk of the deep south and the southeast, we've got some pretty good significant rains that are going to be coming across that'll last Monday into Tuesday. But finally, that cold front will be on the move, and ahead of that cold front, that will move through the Missouri Valley and pinwheel all the way across into the mid-Atlantic states and eventually impact the Northeast, but that actually won't be until on your Thursday. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. You can actually follow me. I'll be active. I am under the weather today, so I'll be pretty active on on Twitter later on this afternoon. So stay tuned for updates on there. And then I'm also pretty active on Facebook as well. So I do have a Facebook page, a Twitter page. Of course, this YouTube page. And so I'll keep you active ahead of the storm with continued updates. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely hit the subscribe button and catch me in the next update where I protect you before and after storm.